Hi everyone, it's Shelley and we're here for another book review, and this time we are reviewing In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I was just mulling over kind of some of what I thought for this. I really didn't like her. At all. It's a thriller, it's meant to be mystery, that kind of thing. So essentially general story is that it's a woman who is going back for a school reunion, and while she was at college, one of her friends in her friendship group was murdered. So the stuff I liked, I liked the POV. I liked the change of time and how they did that, like how you do like a bit in the present and you do a bit in the past, and every now and again you'd kind of see a little different bit at a time, which kind of fed into the story and it kind of built it up over time, and I really like that. It's probably the only bit I did like. I like the idea of it, the premise of it, the bits, but I really wanted more. I'm not a big thriller reader either. I'm not very good at reading thrillers. I don't have many on my shelves. I mean, if you look, most of my books are fantasy, very minimal romance, and I wanted more thrillers, and this was what this is what I wanted. My gripe was a couple of things. One, the main character, she was so annoying. I felt nothing. I felt so infuriated by this woman. I don't know how else to put it. How do you like a main character like this? I don't know if she was meant to be dislikable, like you meant to dislike her, or whether you were meant to not side with her, or you were meant to sort of have some sort of gripe with her, or I don't know what it was. So literally from day one, she'll have a big moment where she wants to prove that she is this amazing person, she wasn't whatever loser she thought she was in college, and it's just a constant thread throughout the whole thing. I'm from the UK. I have no idea about sororities and fraternities and whatever else goes on at American colleges. I understand how important it is. I've kind of grasped that. This took it to a whole new level, and I can only imagine if this is actually how it is. I mean, please feel free to tell me if it is or it isn't, but this was like the extreme level I can imagine. But it was just this, and then every time she flashed back to college, it was, oh, she didn't get into that particular house, she didn't get into that particular club, she didn't get that particular score, she didn't get anything in particular for a number of other things, and she was just constantly pitting herself against everybody else. And essentially she's there because of a scholarship kind of thing, and she's spending money she shouldn't have. I think she's in a higher end university than she really should be, but she's doing it supposedly all for her dad, who kind of got so far and then never did anything with his degree. Now the backstory of obviously family and things like that's quite sad, but it's just, she's so obsessed with the stuff about her dad, and she doesn't live her life for herself. And that's pretty much all it comes down to. She's so obsessed with taking her dad to somewhere, or doing something for her dad, or doing something to prove to somebody else, doing something to prove it to her boyfriend, doing it to prove to somebody else she can do this. Every time she's got the friend who then gets murdered is somebody in a group who she deems to be so amazing, and she's this lovely person, but then she really doesn't like her, and then just she's jealous of all the things that she gets. I mean, I've read a few reviews online. I don't tend to read them before I go into a book, simply because I don't want to be spoiled, or I don't want to I don't want to be dragged in any which way. But so when I picked this, I picked it based on the stars as opposed to anything else. But then when I've read reviews, a few people have agreed with me, which I'm quite pleased about, because I genuinely thought I was the only one. How? So some of the other bits I wasn't really keen on. Obviously, we've established the main character is quite annoying. She went out with the popular boy. He was very annoying. He became so insufferable. I can't even tell you what he does. He just wanted to be with this main character because of her loyalty, and because of her the fact that she would be grateful to go out with him because he's the most popular boy at college. My God. And obviously, as it all came out in the story, the idea is that they come back for the reunion. The brother of the girl who was murdered is the one who's kind of brought them there, and is then sort of going through all of their secrets, and they're kind of just, and then you get all these different jumping between present day and the past, and what happens and how it links all together, and that's fine. That was the bit I really liked. I did like how that all kind of linked together. Some of the secrets were just, I can understand why they're secrets, but it then turns out the main character kind of knew a few more than what I think everybody else did. She seemed to know a lot of things. The girl who was murdered, there was never really any explanation as to why she was murdered. There seems to be quite a few reasons. Lots of them can involve lots of different people. She was involved in lots of different pockets of conversations with some of the friendship group. So there was a lot of different reasons as to why she was even murdered in the first place. The reason she was murdered wasn't the reason she was murdered didn't seem to make sense. It didn't come out of nowhere, but it kind of escalated from 0 to 1,000. I'm not going to obviously say who does the murdering, but a lot of egos are involved in this whole friendship group. The main character, like I say, is very pathetic, really. For lack of a better word, she's pathetic. She doesn't really have a backbone. She doesn't really have a sense of self. And obviously, that's maybe what the author was going for. Again, nothing untoward. I liked part of it, but I think the main character just didn't have much going for her. And she was very heavily reliant on this friendship group to give her sustenance, but then she was quite happy to say how much she didn't like each person, or didn't agree with a person, or, you know, had some gripe against a person, or had, you know, was jealous of them for whatever reason. And then even when she was older and she was coming back for this reunion, she hadn't grown up in any way, shape or form. Like, there was no growth there at all. She'd literally left college and just been in existence. She got older, she did a job and she got better at it, but she didn't grow up at all. Because the way she spoke about some people in this is actually ridiculous. I mean, I've never been back to a school reunion, but I'd like to think I would not retract into my teenage self. I think most people wouldn't. That's the bit I'm not really pleased about. In terms of stars, I gave this 2. I didn't hate it, I just disliked some of it. But I liked it enough in terms of how it was structured, how the story is, as much as I didn't really enjoy some of the story, I liked how the story was unfolded and how that was structured. Some bits were interesting in terms of, like, you know, how the college is set up, because obviously, like I say, I'm from the UK. I've never been, I don't understand obviously how the colleges work in America. There's obviously stuff to it, but this is quite extreme in terms of what I can only imagine is the acceptance into all these different houses and groups within college. So yeah, it was a 2-star. I mean, lucky it got even that, because I think, I mean, like I say, I don't dislike it, but I don't think I like the story enough. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. It's not a thriller. I would love to read more intense thrillers, something that keeps me on the edge of my seat. Like I say, I don't read many, so I don't really know what else to gauge it against. This is a debut by this author, so potentially I could pick something else up and find it amazing. This is not what I was after. I wanted something a tad more than what I got. But yeah, it is what it is. Other thing I'd mention about this as well is I use the audiobook. I don't know what's happened to this, and nothing to the author at all, because this has got nothing to do with them. But what are Audible and the publishers doing? I bought the audiobook with a credit, so I didn't DNF this for the very point that I bought an audiobook credit, you know. There was stuff missing, stuff added, stuff rewritten. It was just every so often there would be a chunk, it would be a sentence or a word, maybe possibly sometimes even paragraphs, where it either disappeared altogether and we were jumping onto the next part, or stuff was being added that wasn't in the book, or it was just reworded altogether. So I read this while listening to the audiobook. Sometimes I like to do that if I'm just not sure if I'll get into a book. But that took me out completely, because every now and again I was having to sit and having to pause the audiobook and retrace where I was. So it's either I lost the plot of where I was because there was extra words in there and I thought, well, hang on, I can't see that. Or it was, you know, there was extra stuff put in or stuff taken out and I had to work out where I'd suddenly skipped. It might have just been a word here and there. One of them, actually, it was the difference between how somebody said something, and it was the way her dad had said something to her when she was younger. And it was like, in the book it said one way, it was like quite aggressive and stern, and the other way was quite quiet, more creepy kind of sounding. Some of the changes made the context change completely. It made no sense. So I was kind of working out, well, I'm reading this in one way and then I'm hearing it in another. No. And to be fair, that was probably, it started with a few little bits at the start, but then once it got into the crux of the whole story and the more backstory you got, there was loads of bits that were being taken out, changed, chopped, and I don't understand why, because as far as I'm aware, I don't even know if anybody can even answer this question, but I realise that UK versions and US versions are different. There are certain spellings that are different, but for goodness sake, that doesn't need to have a whole change of context. We don't need it. I don't know about the people in the US or others in the UK. I don't need a change of context. I can read this quite easily, thank you very much. It was so frustrating. It kept taking me out of it. So when it was getting to the really good bits and everything was being revealed and more information was coming in, I had to stop and reread stuff so many times just to try and get my head around what I was reading and whether I'd missed a trick. And like I say, some of it changed the context. It changed the tone of what people were saying. It changed how it could be interpreted between two characters. It just didn't make sense. So if you do want to pick this up, pick one format or the other. I wouldn't pick both. I don't know about the Kindle version. God knows, it probably has a different set of things in there as well. But yeah, that was probably something that I found as a massive gripe. But obviously that's got nothing to do with the author. That's more of a publishing, Audible mess, whatever you want to call it. Just simply because it just made it harder to get into and get back into every time that kept happening. Didn't make sense at all. Didn't make sense. So yeah, so that's my review for this book. If you've got any thoughts, please share. Obviously I've put a few spoilers in here, so just be careful in terms of comments, because I've don't want to put too many spoilers in. But if you've got any thoughts on this, you want to share them, that's great. Obviously we'll see what my next read is. I've got another prompt to go, but yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on this as well, and see what you thought about that. Well, thank you very much, and see you for the next one. Bye.